It's really annoying that they have to. You have to press everything twice on this thing.
So you don't accidentally stream.
Well, right then. Hi, welcome to Just Tangents, where today we will be discussing the book The Great Divorce by C.S. Lewis. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
And how are we today?
Tired.
Tired? Yeah, I'm a bit tired. I've got a headache. I might have mentioned it.
Survived the coof.
Huh? You have the coof?
No, I survived it.
Oh, that's always good to be a survivor.
Yeah.
Like Beyonce.
Yeah, apparently all survivors still live, so it's good to be in that group.
They do. I mean, all your ancestors were survivors.
Not in the long run.
Well, yeah, up until the point where they weren't survivors, but they were survivors. Otherwise, to some degree. So yes, how did we enjoy this short little ditty?
It was all right.
The Great Divorce.
It is a bit Narnia-ish, right?
Yeah.
I've never partaken in any kind of Narnia related
Well,
things.
it's a world inside of another world, or in this case, it's some world hidden somewhere else.
Worldception.
And then you meet people who are basically allegories to people from the Bible in some form of another, and then turns out that our own bitterness is our own prison, and then it's all a dream.
Yeah, all about people having to give something up in order to, make a decision.
Well, yeah, that's very Petersonian of you.
Yeah, there's some good characters in it. I only just realised that the George guy, the what would you call him? The guy who's showing him round is based on a real person.
George MacDonald.
Yeah, that's the one. Is that what he's called in the actual story? I can't remember.
Wasn't he a writer? And
yeah, apparently so. Of children's stories.
The reason of that is that he needed some mentor to show him around because the world was so strange.
Mm. And he was apparently a children's book writer when Lewis was young, and obviously had some impact.
Well, I guess that this is Lewis's self-insert. So,
what did we think of the old grey town?
It's an interesting little concept.
That's where that's what they call my hometown, the old grey town. That's its nickname, which is quite fitting, I suppose.
Is it because of the lack of color, or?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it is pretty grey, to be fair, and it rains a lot because, yeah.
Or the fact that nothing really of note goes on.
Yeah, but isn't that the same in most places?
Yeah, pretty much.
Unless you get into big cities, I suppose, but then they're awful. So
they're fucking hellholes.
Exactly. I'd rather have not a lot happening than stuff happening.
Well, what you've got here in these towns is that people are living there, but they have so little contact that they're actually, it's like they live miles apart. And describe that it takes ages to find somebody else, despite that this town actually seems to exist and is filled with stuff, but not with people. And it's kind of, if you live in a big city, you know people, but they don't live close to you in the city. You always have to go there, and there are tons of people between you and the other people, and might as well living in the countryside where you know everybody.
So. Yeah, I suppose, and in this old grey town, like, people actively try and move as far away from as humanly possible as everybody else, don't they?
Yeah, well, it's the people who hate each other who are in purgatory, and it's the people who are nice to each other which are in heaven, right?
Yeah, the idea of Napoleon just constantly going through his head all the people that he blames for his failing.
Yeah, it's a typical way you blame somebody else for your own failings.
Especially if you're Napoleon.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I like the the concept of a bus journey, because I can't think of many things worse than a bus journey, to be fair.
It feels very British.
Yeah, I guess so. Although I could probably count the numbers of times I've been on a bus on one hand. Unless I've been on holiday, I suppose. Yeah, maybe not. Forget I said anything. Did you like my thumbnail for the video?
Can't see it.
Oh well, it's the Magic School Bus.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Do you remember watching that when it used to be on?
Yeah.
No.
It always used to be on there. It's probably, I don't know. I don't know when that came about. It was definitely on early on in the morning. It always used to be on one of those terrible cartoony things.
What I did notice is that because you called it "You Go to Hell Because You're a Bad Person," a book review. That there's a murderer in this story, and he actually doesn't go to hell because he just has to please somebody, and he can go to heaven anyway. So it feels really like this Protestant that you or this where you can always or get forgiveness if you just repent.
Yeah, kind of makes it feel a little less special, I guess.
Yeah. It doesn't matter what you do in life as long as you're willing to let go in the end, and then you're saved.
I suppose a modern day version would be The Good Place. Do you ever watch that?
No, I've not watched that.
It's got the woman who voices Thingy from Frozen in it. Can't remember what she's called. Blonde woman. That's basically all these people in this place that they think is heaven, but is actually hell. And
Is there an episode from the Twilight Zone called "It's a Nice Place to Visit," where this thief he ends up in a casino, and then and there's women and there's liquor, and he can gamble what he wants. And after a couple of weeks, he gets bored, and there's nothing else to do. So he really is suffering because he's so bored. And then he meets what he thinks is God, and he says, "Well, heaven is terrible." And then he says, "Why do you think this was heaven?" And it's his personal hell that he has all this luxury which he always wanted, and then he actually realizes that it just bores him.
in the Good Place, they train. It's the devil trying to train out a new. Well, no, he's not the devil. He's just one of the devils, I suppose. Trying out a new technique for torturing people, and that is putting up people in. So tricking them into thinking they're in heaven, but they're not. But trapping them there by letting them think that there's something wrong, but there isn't. I don't know. I thought it was done quite well. And the point that they made towards the end of the series was that it's impossible to basically go to heaven because basically unintended consequences, and which is quite apt, really. I thought that a modern show should make that point, because people don't seem to like unintended consequences.
No.
Speaking of which, did you see the John Campbell video talking about the hepatitis in children?
I think I did, but what did he talk about?
Well, basically, because all these very young children haven't been socialized for 2 years, they haven't been able to get the various, they haven't been exposed to these viruses and things that they would normally. So now that they are, their immune systems are basically not prepared, and they're getting this hepatitis virus, which is basically causing, is it kidney failure or liver failure? Either way, it's pretty bad, and it's killing people, and it is being directly linked to the lockdowns.
Yeah.
Which is, unintended
Well, yeah, that
consequences.
was kind of expected. Like if you don't train your immune system, it doesn't become very strong. So
Yeah, and like what is it, a 3,000% increase in people going to particularly young, like under 3-year-old children to speech therapy clinics.
yeah, that was also to be expected. Well, to be honest, before the whole pandemic, there was already a problem that you had these parents who would drop off their kids at kindergarten, so being 4 years old, and they were still wearing diapers, so they weren't. I don't know what kids, the housebroken is what I would say when it was a puppy. So, but you get the
Potty
idea.
trained, potty
Yeah,
trained.
potty trained, and then it's like, don't, aren't you? They were thinking that the teacher would learn them that. They're like, no, we're supposed to. So there was already kind of a weakness, and this just made it worse. Like, okay, these kids didn't get to socialize with other kids at a young age, and that's really gonna hurt because it's the period where you learn boundaries and things like that. Like I'm a kid, I'm overreacting. The other kids are just reacting back. Like, okay, and so they missed all this. And when it happens in pets, you get these really antisocial pets. So we're gonna end up with a couple of cohorts which are really really annoying kids.
Yeah.
Somebody has a subwoofer on.
A subwoofer, yeah. He's my wife has. She likes to buy mannequins for no particular reason, other than she finds it amusing. And well, usually bits of mannequins, but this time she's bought an actual full mannequin, and the dog keeps seeing it and then deciding to bark at it.
Based.
Yeah. And now she's put a dinosaur head mask.
For baby.
She's put a dinosaur mask on the mannequin's head.
Can
and the
you
dog
grab
is
for
going mental.
baby?
Hang on. Talk among yourselves a sec.
Okay. So I haven't read too much of C.S. Lewis, but I have seen the Narnia movies, and he always gets accused of writing very Christian kind of novels. I mean, if you what's it called The Subtle Knife was like a kind of seen as like an atheist reaction to this, where you had this kids go on an adventure story, but it doesn't involve like all this overly religious stuff, but still.
Yeah.
You ended up with souls needing to go somewhere and being able to go between worlds. So, and that's kind of has the same themes like in Narnia. You have different worlds and you get to visit them and you transition from one into the other. Although this whole story is basically, in the end, it turns out to be a dream. But it's like, okay, what would purgatory look like, and what would heaven actually look like? And so this is kind of a step. So
yeah, I think the thing with C.S. Lewis, considering he's like he became a born again Christian, that kind of like it was his sole purpose, to be honest.
yeah,
He was very much an apologist. I think he was an Anglican, much to the dismay of Tolkien.
who just said, "Screw it, I'll make my own mythology."
Yes,
and I'll create my own gods and my own angels and devils, and make them flawed, which made a much better story.
Definitely, like the old school mythologies, like Norse, Greek, and what have you.
Yeah, because in Tolkien, basically, if you're kind of screwed, right? If you fall under the spell of Sauron, you become a ring wraith for 1,000 years or something, and or even worse, you become an elf. And here it's like, oh yeah, but your soul can still be saved, and it's all like you can be reborn again, and everything can be fixed, and it's just a matter of putting your mind to it. And this whole story is drenched with that. It's
yeah, it basically kind of goes, no matter the course, good will always win in the end. Of course, it's the same deal with like Tolkien's work, but with Tolkien there's a lot more challenge and a little bit more conflict for characters. Whilst with C.S. Lewis, it's in the end we all know who wins. So
yeah, the thing with Tolkien and C.S. Lewis as well is you have you have absolute good and evil, right? Tolkien is there's no gray area. You have the good guys, you have the bad guys, and basically the conflict is between them. So there's not really any doubt in moral standing. And once you go bad, you're just being corrupted like Saruman.
Mhm.
And I haven't read enough C.S. Lewis to know whether his characters are like that as well.
Yeah.
We kind of always jokingly said that the satyr was like a nonce because he would lure in all the little kids.
Yeah.
So who was like a nonce? Sorry.
The satyr from the Narnia series.
All right. Okay.
So yeah, it's all it's very Christian this, and there's a lot of like you basically can get instant redemption, and every character in this story can get instant redemption if they would just accept God as their savior and let go of their earthly troubles. Like the mother who cared a lot about her said that she cared a lot about her son, and her son is in heaven, but she can't join him because she actually it feels like some kind of Munchausen by proxy thing, right? Like you see a lot of moms do. So they have their own personal problems, so they try to get attention through their kids, and just try to show what a good mother they are, and as a result, they're terrible.
And she'd quite happily just drag him to hell with her.
Yeah, she'd rather drag him to hell than she would be saved and go to heaven. Because it's easier. It's easier to drag somebody down than to uplift yourself.
Yeah, there was a lot of good kind of little tangents and characters and things within. Like
most of these stories could be like an anecdote in some kind of self-help book.
Yeah. Like the guy with the lizard and the woman trying to talk down the husband with the ever decreasing in size midget person with the what do they call him? A Tregarian, is it? Which I'd never heard of before.
Yeah.
A tragic actor.
I still don't know why it's called the Great Divorce.
It is. I can tell you now. Hang on. It's something to do with the oh, hell spells. Where is it? It is because it is a play on another works. Yeah, because its working title was "Who Goes Home," but the publishers didn't like that and wanted it to be. Where is it? All right, yeah. It refers to William Blake's poem "The Marriage of Heaven and Hell," which is, I suppose, it is the opposite, I guess, the divorce.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was trying to go too far down the page.
Yeah, it's like that. They go from this great town to a place which is more normal. It's all meadows and stuff, but it's unbearable for them because as soon as they arrive on the bus, they become specters. So raindrops feel like stones and grass feels like knives because they're so weak. So they basically can't manipulate the world. So the world basically pushes back to them. So And that's actually what prevents them from just walking into heaven. But they can become more real if they accept God.
Yeah, I thought the way it's kind of put forward, with becoming more solid, and the even the grass and stuff can basically wreck their feet, and kind of becoming more whole by giving up something, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's his answer to salvation. Just make sure that you can become whole, and that's only possible through God. I think that's literally in the story.
Yeah. And like the artist, getting obsessed with the art as opposed to the subject, and little nods like that. It's something that's in quite a few stories, I guess. People losing sight of the actual, the love of the original thing. Becoming obsessed with the technical, I guess.
Yeah, well, you lose the bigger picture if you start staring at the details.
Is there any, Alex, is there any particular things that caught your, imagination?
It's like, you're gonna have to forgive me because I've got some arsehole neighbours playing stupid fucking reggae crap in the background. So I think the thing I actually was more of the Jamaican crap is, I think the character that interests me most was the George MacDonald character, considering he's supposed to be guiding the narrator through it. So, like, what was the quote? I think it's something like, the goodness of heaven will work backwards. So, like all the things that made them upset would be turned into the things they enjoyed the most. But then the working opposite for hell is like, if they return to the great town, it's like, and if everything happy will start to just become meaningless, and then that the thing that they held on to just holds no meaning. I thought that was an interesting part of the book that I kind of was interested in going a little deeper as it went on.
Yeah, and the fact that in the in the grey town, in purgatory or hell or whatever you want to call it, they had everything they wanted, but there was no substance to what they wanted. Like,
Well, that's the thing that people are unhappy. They want a lot of stuff because they think that it will make them happy, but as soon as you have it, you don't want it anymore. And then for them, it loses value. And this is what you see. Like, okay, I want to have a house and I want to live in the town and all that stuff. But basically, the happiness that they seek, or the unhappiness that they have, actually, they don't deal with it. So if you want to be happy, you don't buy stuff to become happy or become hedonistic, but you start digging for the what's it called? Start digging for the actual problem.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what all these people don't do, and that's why they remain in hell.
Yeah, I mean, most of them fail, don't they? Even though all they have to do is decide that they want to stay there. They can't do it.
Yeah.
From the slutty woman, I suppose you want to call her, to the artist, to the criminal. I guess it's basically everyone, isn't it? A whole smorgasbord of human.
Oh yeah, it basically doesn't matter who you are or what your background is, whether you're a like some harlot or a murderer or a great artist, you all have to face the same consequences.
Yeah. But these are a lot of these are people that on Earth probably wouldn't have entertained the idea that they would go to hell.
Hmm.
But then it's not really clear that it is hell, is it? It's I don't know. It's a weird version of hell, which I suppose they point out a lot by saying, it's not the whole fire and brimstone, hell.
No, it's more that the eternal suffering is your own suffering, which you already
Yeah,
have, and it's not like being tortured. So you're not
yeah,
being waterboarded or anything like that. It's just you're left to your own devices and really unhappy.
yeah. You get to torture yourself essentially. I suppose that's kind of the point. You make your own hell, or you can make your own hell.
Yeah.
Mm.
And your own personal hell is very hard to dig out of because it usually means you have to let go of something, and that's very hard for people to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Anything that stood out interesting for you, like any like part of the story?
Like I say, I liked I just like the way they've done all the different characters, and what each kind of, each showing a different way to be, unworthy, I guess, or
Any of them that kind of stuck out for you?
just different ways to torture yourself.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
any
well,
that,
the artist was, a good example, and the woman who's, whose son died, and is basically making everybody's life miserable. I quite like that one. I see a lot of people who like it might even be a Peterson thing. Some people, when something goes wrong or someone dies or whatever, it takes something away from them. Whereas some people, it makes them a bit more of a person, makes them a bit stronger. But I see a lot of people who something bad happens and it takes something from them. You know what I mean? It's
Isn't this a bit of that some people have this tragic worldview and they know that stuff will go wrong, and then they will say, okay, this is kind of the thing that goes wrong. But yeah, it happens. And other people, they work towards a perfect world and they have like this utopian vision. So everything that goes wrong is one step away from that, and that's like dramatic because it wasn't supposed to happen. Why weren't we able to prevent this disaster?
yeah, maybe they feel guilty, or maybe it's just because I don't know really. Kind of an anxiety thing, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I know a lot of people like that. Like, so when something bad happens, it takes something from them rather than improving them.
Well, they don't learn from mistakes, I guess. But how can you learn from mistakes if everything is somebody else's fault?
Yeah, well, not even that it's a mistake. That it's it's a tragedy or what, an event that takes that happens, which isn't really anyone's fault, but rather than allowing it to allow it to build you up, it's something that takes something from them instead. Instead of letting it make them stronger, they let it take something from them. Anyway, yeah, that's one way of seeing it. Anyway, I guess. But
Mistakes were made.
yeah, always. Who was that? Anyway, what have we got? What else have we got?
It's not a long story, so there's only so much things to say.
Yeah, there is a lot of characters in it though.
Yeah, but they all kind of serve the same purpose.
Yeah,
That's like they all have their personal hells.
yeah, all just different variations, I guess. Like I said, the ones that kind of stood out to me with the artist and the mother.
The mother is a really clear one because they basically tell like, okay, yeah, she's willing to drag down somebody back into her hell just to feel better.
But obviously, she's one of the ones that doesn't see that she's belongs there because she feels like she didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
Did nothing wrong, you know, because she in her view she kind of loved him, but it wasn't it was a different kind of love, I guess.
Well, some people call it love, but it's actually some narcissistic trait that you're just constant need of attention.
Yeah, again, it's one of those ones you can. I think most people probably know someone like that. You know, the smothering kind of love.
Well, if you don't, then you haven't learned to recognize it yet. So.
Yeah, I guess so. And I suppose the other one I quite like, was at the end with the guy with the chain and that whole back and forth. That was
a
good.
bit of an odd part, right? Well, given the fact that the story itself is odd, but it basically split into two, right?
The person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose the dwarf was what was good that was left, or what the good that was there, and then the other bit was the thing that he kind of hid behind, or used as a not a shield, but like I suppose it kind of was a shield. Using pity, I guess, was his weapon of choice. But yeah, I just like the the visual of the bad part of him, being drawn out and enlarging this Trugarian or whatever he was called, and until there was nothing left. Just the description of it, I thought was quite good. And this woman that she could no longer, it couldn't affect her anymore. Like, so I guess she'd completely given over. She was incapable of letting him affect her anymore. So I suppose when the idea was that she'd been in a home, I guess, and he'd be coming to visit her. I don't know. It was something like that, wasn't it? Yeah, and the other one I quite enjoyed was the guy with the lizard. The lizard representing the lust.
Lizard representing a lust.
Oh, his lust.
Oh.
That was the point, wasn't it?
I think so.
And then somehow turning into a horse and galloping off into the hills. And then at the end, it all gets very bizarre with the idea of hell being, or purgatory being small. It being like the things that are negative are like tiny, in their represent, compared to the goodness. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to describe it, but yeah. What did you reckon to the ending?
A bit of a cop out, right? That it was a dream.
Yeah, I think it's probably because back
the dream,
the whole dream thing was quite new, but now everyone seems to fucking do it.
Well, that,
I don't know. I don't know if you ever seen. Have you ever seen Saint Elsewhere?
No.
Where they're like, okay, there was a series about a hospital and turned out to be a dream of an autistic kid.
I remember the big one back in the day was the Dallas cop out.
Oh yeah, where the whole season turned out to be somebody's dream. Just
It wasn't
because
even the season, was it? Wasn't it like the whole goddamn thing right up until that point? Like
I
they
don't
just
know,
decided to
but
retroactively.
yeah, because they painted themselves in so many corners.
Well, I know, like I remember when Neighbours brought someone back who previously been killed. You know, just oh no, this person had been in a coma and had amnesia or something.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but yeah, the dream endings are always a bit of a cop out. But
Yeah.
I suppose it's one way of doing it. But yeah, it would have been new once upon a time, I guess. I suppose it's still early on in the whole literature thing. It's the first kind of dream thing that we've had, isn't it? Of all the books we've read. I don't know how prevalent it was or when it became popular.
Yeah, well, it's cliche now, I guess.
Yeah, I think the first time I ever noticed it was when I played the Mickey Mouse game on the SNES. Did you ever play that?
No, I did play the Smurfs game. Does that count?
No. No, it was the Mickey Mouse game, and when you finished it, it turned out the whole game was a dream. It's like great. It did feel like a bit of a letdown. What says the Alex?
About the ending.
Yeah, well, that whole bit with the playing on the people watching, they're like looking down on the table with the smaller versions of themselves acting out like some kind of proxy, I guess.
Or the tiny crack in the soil thing.
Yeah, there was that bit, but yeah, saying that they'd come out of the crack and that it was that meaningless or whatever, that it was small enough to fit in a crack in heaven. Heaven was that massive.
Yeah, I think the whole deal with like heaven being that massive is just to like showed like there's immeasurable power, like that's the all-consuming thing.
Yeah,
At a
or even
certain
like
point.
the things that you're letting go, the idea that they're small as well, I guess.
Yeah, it's like almost it felt almost very Buddhist in a way. Give up everything to achieve everything, if you will, or to achieve enlightenment.
Well, it's kind of a bit like the analogy of the camel going through the needle,
Yeah.
where you had this very narrow gate, and if your camel was loaded, so the idea was that you had a city gate, but there was a smaller gate called a needle where you could enter the city in the night. Like, okay, if this hole in your city wall, in case you don't have guards, and then a camel would fit through if it wasn't loaded. And so if your camel was loaded with goods, you couldn't enter the city. So if your mind was loaded with all kind of worldly issues, you couldn't enter the city of God.
Yeah, it kind of fits with the whole thing of like be in the now, do better for the future kind of deal. In a very basic sense, in which way I can't verbally construe it properly. The ending was a bit of a all right, okay, cool for such a short book. Like
Yeah.
I didn't know how I'd think it would end, because in my mind I thought either he's gonna just be miserable or he's gonna float up to heaven and that's gonna be it. But the whole dream thing, I was like, all right, whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of a bit like The Old Man and the Sea. They were short, but they felt a lot longer. Like
They did.
I guess it's maybe because it's got that many characters and
yeah, and also the fact that it's quite philosophical in a way compared to The Old Man and the Sea. The Old Man and the Sea is like, this is the story, this is the beginning, this is the middle, this is the end. This
I
has
thought
the whole
I
thought going through.
I thought The Old Man and the Sea was very philosophical, really.
It was philosophical, but it's not inward of itself and thought circles as this. Like,
No.
it was pretty straightforward, The Old Man and the Sea, compared to this.
It was a good fish.
It was a good fish.
But yeah, yeah, like I say, I enjoyed it. I thought it was well written.
Oh yeah, it was very well
It
written.
had some nice little characters, and you kind of, made you think, and yeah, it was good.
It kept my attention all the way through. Just what you want in a book.
Yeah, and I do enjoy that the kind of concepts it used. Where I like that kind of thing. Just generally, it was interesting and kind of a bit more what's the word for it? A bit more abstract.
Yeah.
Quite like that kind of thing. Like I say, the concepts were good, which is yeah. Yes. Anything else to comment?
Nothing really. It's quite like a very, very short book.
So what we've got to else. Yeah, I can't really think of any of the characters that aren't listed in this little list here.
Yeah, but the main thing with this book is just there's the narrator and then there's George, and that's kind of like the main two I can actually remember. All these other smaller ones, sure, they got names, but they don't really play that much of a massive part in it. They help push the idea of the story along, though. Like they just weren't frivolously put in for the sake of it.
Like I said, I've said the ones I thought, the lizard and the woman with the the dwarf guy and the artist and yeah. Yeah, the stuff with the criminal and I thought was quite good.
Mm-hmm.
This trying to put forward this idea that anybody can go, even some murdering criminal, which seems a bit of a, I don't know, makes it seem a little less special.
Yeah.
It
seems like there's no effort.
Jesus.
What was that? Sorry.
As long as you accept Jesus.
Yeah. Which again, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like surely some stuff can be unforgivable.
Yeah, well, even the idea that you don't actually have to believe in it, during your life.
Why you go on the basic Catholic conscript of like repent at the end, and you're good.
Yeah, well, that's what they're doing, isn't it? The idea that you don't even have to, believe, and then when you die, you're presented with this thing. You say, oh, by the way, heaven and hell.
The Catholics were right. So do you repent now? Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I think just remember there's one of the Family Guy skits where it turns out the Mormons were right.
Yeah.
And heaven's just full of young men in shirts, white shirts. So yeah, not sure it'd be that much of a fun place. Although maybe Mormons are really fun. I don't know. I've never got any time in any of it. I suppose it could be worse. It could be the Scientologists.
Ugh.
We could all get our own planet. Although, I think, do the Mormons believe you get your own planet?
That's Mormons, yeah.
Yeah. It's something similar in Scientology, though, isn't it? I don't know. It's even more weird somehow. I don't know how it could be.
Scientologist is also multiple planets, but then you get transported in spaceships that look like DC-5s or something.
American bullshit.
Yeah. I guess, I don't know. It's quite bizarre. Fiona was watching one of her weird things that she likes to watch when a friend comes round, and it was a guy with, do you have no arms or legs? I can't remember. He either had no arms or no arms and no legs. And basically, he'd been abandoned as a baby due to the whole having no arms and no legs thing, and been adopted by this Mormon family. And yeah, it was very bizarre. A very homosexual man with no arms and no legs living as a Mormon. It's very weird. Yeah, Fiona watches some weird stuff, by the way. So yeah, so that's it. Anything else on the whole Great Divorce front?
Nothing really now.
I think we're done.
You know, as the head bishop, do you have any religious things to take away?
Well, don't be an asshole.
Well, I suppose that's just generally good advice, isn't it?
It's applicable to everything. Just don't be an asshole.
Yeah, don't be a dick.
Doesn't mean you have to be nice all the time, but
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, don't actively be assholic. And yeah, so the next thing that we're going to look at next week is, because it's very, very short. This was short, but the next thing is very, very short. Button, which somehow the film is longer than the book. So yeah, read Button and or watch the film The Button. Not The Button, The Box, sorry. Yeah.
depends whether you're lazy or not.
Well, like I say, if you get the audio book, listen to the audio of Button. It's actually shorter than the film. So, and the film's very weird. It's like Royston Vasey meets, I don't know. It's very odd. Meets something or other. You ever seen the film The Box, Alex?
The film with what?
The Box.
No.
Anyway, that's the book we're doing next. It's the book that film was based on.
Okie dokie.
The book being Button, which is a short story. And apparently there's a Twilight episode of it.
Well, if this trend continues, then in a couple of weeks we'll be reviewing the letter E.
Yeah. Well, that's why I've just put a week between the two.
So is it the Button at the Asimov thing?
The what now?
Who's the author?
It's a fine-looking question. Can we remember who the author
Is it Asimov?
No.
Is it Richard Matheson?
You're an Asimov.
It's Richard Matheson.
Right, Richard Matheson.
Yeah, that's it, Richard Matheson.
It was first published in Playboy.
Yeah.
they have really good interviews in that magazine.
Yeah, that's why you buy it, isn't it? Yeah. Does it still exist?
Playboy.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it in the shops for a while, so.
Well, yeah, you should watch the film as well. It's got what's she called? What's the something about Mary woman called?
Cameron Diaz.
Cameron Diaz, that's the one. I don't remember who it was now. Yeah, Cameron Diaz is in it, and it's directed by the guy who did Donnie Darko. That's some serious typing going on.
Is it really loud? Sorry. I just like looking up more of this stuff about Button.
He's rabbit holing. But shall we end the stream before he has read the story? Because otherwise.
Well, no, you might inhale it by accident. Right, ending the stream. See you next week.
Bye.
Butrus Gali.
Butrus Gali. Weather Scotcho.